I have a question for you. Have you ever had a hangover?
Why what do you mean, have you ever had a hangover?
I think it's a valid question. Not everybody's had a hangover in their life, you know?
I mean, I guess it is true. Not everyone has had a hangover.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone who is underage has yet to experience a hangover.
Mm-hmm.
There may be other reasons why you've never had a hangover. I haven't had a lot, but I've had them. Why do you ask? Are you hungover for this recording?
No. Have you ever experienced that feeling from working?
Oh, okay.
Because this happened to me yesterday.
You had a work hangover.
I had a work hangover, I think, for the first time. And it's not something that I knew existed. I don't know if it does exist. But yesterday, I felt horrifically hungover. And I had no alcohol the day before. And the only thing that I can attest it to is the fact that I was working until, I don't know, like 1 a.m. and still trying to stay awake with caffeine and food at a time when I should have definitely been sleeping.
Right. You've been spending all your cortisol and adrenaline on getting things done.
Yeah.
And then you are tapped out, my friend. Yeah, no. Work hangover, I think that's a real thing if you've really been going for a whole bunch. Work hangovers, yes. Regular hangovers, not so much. But I'm sorry to hear that you've had a work hangover, though it is completely understandable because it is Apple events time, which I totally knew about before you messaged me about it, and I saw it in the show notes. It's a busy week for you.
Yeah, it was so Tuesday was when the event was, and they're obviously later in time anyway, right? So if I'm recording, which I am, I recorded with Jason, we do our kind of like post-event analysis. I can't start that until it ended. And then I also had some meetings, which to get some more information about the product. So all of that just kept pushing the day on and on and on. And I think adrenaline is one of the things that I can assume was a big factor for how I was feeling. Because I had like a weird feeling after I was finished. Like it was kind of like 1 a.m. I was super hungry and I was like incredibly sweaty. And so like I can assume it, lovely, right? I can assume it must have been adrenaline based. And I think that set me up for a bad Wednesday.
Right.
It was bad. It was so bad. And I still had a bunch of stuff to do. We did an interview for next week's upgrade. And again, I'm trying to like get through it. And I felt like I was, I don't know, like 22 again or something.
Yeah, I could see in my head Myke with the sunglasses on as you're recording a podcast and drinking coffee and
from underneath my desk,
Yeah.
In the fetal position. It reminded me of when, I used to work in retail banking, and my very first jobs in that field was actually working in the bank branches, opening bank accounts and that kind of stuff. And I remember what it was like to work Saturdays, having gone out on Fridays. They were rough times, man. And that's what I felt like yesterday.
I'm so sorry. Because that's the worst thing. Then the hangover is having to do something. Right,
working through a hangover is one of the most excruciating things a person can go through. It's so bad. Like if you have to sit in a meeting, the
universe feels unjust in those moments.
And so I've discovered that it's possible now. Maybe this is in my advancing age that now I can just work too hard and get a hangover, which is not a thing that I knew I had to consider. But I guess that's kind of where I am in my mid-30s now.
Happy birthday! Here's a new problem for you. Oh, I'm so sorry, Myke. I'm so sorry that this is now a thing that can be part of your annual life. You know?
Maybe. I made a decision, though, which was a pretty good one. Like I had like a positive thinking kind of moment, like a positive mental attitude kind of moment. Where it was like, I was looking at my calendar, and these weeks, they were just like, it's like dropping a nuclear bomb into my calendar, because there is a moment on the Tuesday, that is where like the bomb hits, and then the shockwave hits out across the rest of the calendar, as all of my shows will start getting moved around. It's kind of an incredible thing. It's like, this event occurs, and then this has to move, then this has to move, and then having moved that means I need to move this, and and it's just like this. I've heard it described as silly season. My friend Merlin calls it silly season, which is like if one person who's in a podcast goes on vacation,
Right.
The effect of that person going on vacation can be felt across like 4 different podcasts, right? So I was looking at all of this and I was assessing the amount of work that I had to do and all these extra things and all my other editing projects that I'm going to have to do. And I made the decision in that moment to not look at this as, oh man, this is so much to do. But to choose to feel grateful for it because this is what I wanted. And it is what I wanted, right? This is what I signed up for, all of this stuff. Like when I set out on this path to try and attain the career that I have, it was to get these moments. So this week, especially, I am appreciating the work more than thinking, oh man, this is going to be hard to get done. I'm just choosing to feel grateful for it instead of tired about it.
I think that's really good because I think about the Myke who I first met, and he would be thrilled to hear how busy your week is because of the things that you're able to do.
Yeah, the opportunities and that kind of stuff.
You really work towards this over the years, and this is a good example of where trying to reframe something really can work. You know, it's like with the journals, and if you use them for gratitude journaling, like I always say, it's frustratingly effective.
Yep.
But this is one of the reasons why that stuff kind of works is you can, to a limited extent, reframe things under the right circumstances, and choosing to be grateful for all of the stuff that you get to do this week is like, I'm glad to hear that you did that after hearing that you had to go through your work hangover while also working with your sunglasses on and drinking your coffee.
And the electrolytes. I was burning up on electrolytes yesterday. I was like, gotta get those in.
Yeah, electrolytes and bone broth, all to be perky on a podcast. Not a fan of bone broth?
I don't like the words.
I never really thought about it. Look, Myke, you just grind up a bunch of bones, you broth them, and then you drink them.
How doth one broth something?
Look, I don't know. I'm not a witch with a cauldron, mixing these things together. Toil, bubble and trouble or whatever. I don't know.
Eye of Newt and all that stuff. Yeah. This episode of Cortex is brought to you by Fitbot. Fitbot is the fitness app that provides a personalized exercise plan, a fitness plan that actually fits you. Because when it comes to fitness, Fitbot believes that everyone can be better. Whether you're working out 3 days a week or twice a day, Fitbot has an algorithm that uses data and analytics to help you build on your previous workout so that your next workout is scientifically proven to be better than the last. Fitbot has been fine-tuned by the best certified personal trainers to bring the best practices of strength training directly to you. Your workout program will be tailored exactly to your needs, making it perfectly suited to your unique body experience, environment, and goals. Because it can be hard to know exactly how much you should be doing whilst exercising. You won't want to have to think about under or overtraining because that stuff could be super complicated. So Fitbot will take care of all of this for you, helping you mix up your muscle groups, exercises, sets, reps, and weight over time to help keep you on top form while making sure that you stay on a path that's right for you. Fitbot is all about helping you take steps towards becoming a better version of yourself. They have so many different types of workouts, body weight only workouts, which are great for indoors or outdoors. If you have access to gym equipment, they have so many options there too. No matter what it is you have, no matter what it is you want or have access to, Fitbot is going to help you with that exercise routine. And this is something that I've found as I've been trying out so many different exercise types with them. Body weight only stuff, I got some resistance bands and I had a bunch of exercises available to me there as well. And I love that as I'm trying out new things, there are all these great little videos and instructions with every single exercise to help me make sure I'm doing it properly. Fitbot is available on iOS and Android, and you can get started right now by going to fitbot.me/cortex, and you'll also get 25% off your membership. That's fitbot.me/cortex to try it out for free and get 25% off your Fitbot membership. Thanks to Fitbot for their support of this show and Relay FM. I opened our document a couple of days ago and was met with something that I couldn't conceive of.
Oh, this is the thing I forgot about. Is this the Slack notification flowchart?
Yes. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes to what I ended up finding, which is a blog post from Slack's engineering team where they show off this flowchart. And we can talk about what this is in a minute and why it's here. But when I first saw this, I thought you had made this.
Oh, no.
And
no.
this was something that you were trying to, I don't know, tell me how I should be sending notifications to you in our Slack or something. I was like, oh, God. I could just imagine you and your assistant coming up with this system of like, when can Gray be notified? And that's what I originally thought this was.
I actually kind of like that as an idea. Like the when and how to approach Gray, the flowchart. I like that. Maybe I should make that.
I mean, honestly, I would like that because then I would know when I can alert you or not, right? Like, what are the types of messages which warrant the at Gray and where do they go? Because I will say, since we created the Cortex brand Slack, our communication has gotten much more complicated.
Yes,
because now we have three places, and I never really know now where to put things again. I think we need to have a meeting about this because it's everything's gotten more complicated again.
Yeah, it definitely has gotten more complicated. And also, in all fairness to you, this is where I am completely unhelpful with the show notes because I was sent this diagram as like, oh my God, look at how complicated Slack notifications are. And I thought, oh, I'm going to forget about this. Let me just quickly drop it into the show notes with no context, right? Not a sentence or anything. I just dropped it in as an image. And then, of course, promptly forgot that I had ever put it in there. So you're presented with this how to run a nuclear power station level flowchart that has absolutely nothing surrounding it. I just wanted this as a little bit of like follow up to our conversations where I sometimes express frustration about notifications. And we've talked about Slack a whole bunch, and even to this day, still find it really endlessly frustrating about what do I or do not get notified about in Slack. And Slack is one of these weird cases where it tends to be the reverse of I actually want more notifications from this system, but I sometimes find it hard to get the ones that I'm looking for. But anyway, so this flow chart, I just put it in here to visually show how it is actually incredibly complicated about does or does not Slack notify you when a message takes place. And I was really relieved to see this, to think, okay, it is not just me. This flowchart must have what? 24 boxes on it, all with yes, no options of, you know, is it here? Is it there? Is it under this circumstance? What's the global state? You know, blah, 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 blah. And so that's why I put it here. This to me is like vindication flowchart. Slack notifications are super complicated.
It's also an incredible example of how you add complication by adding new features.
Yes.
Me and Adina were talking about this yesterday. She started selling some prints of the comics that she's been doing. Like she wanted to test it out. And she wanted to set up Instagram shopping, right? Because you can buy things in Instagram.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. It integrates with Shopify, I think. And you can just sell stuff.
So it's physical prints of the artwork.
Yeah, she had some postcards made. It's like a test of a thing that she wants to try and do more of. And she's also doing this as a test for us, for Cortex brand, right?
Right.
It's like, why don't you do this and tell me how it goes? So we'll see if this is the thing we want to do in the future. I don't know.
Right. It's great to have tasks have two purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
Two purposes is one purposes. So yeah, that's great.
And so to do it, she had to set up a Facebook page for her Instagram account and link them. To do a lot of stuff on Instagram, you have to have a Facebook page attached to it, like to do ads and stuff like that. So she created the Facebook page, but now it refuses to link them. Like she's hit some bug and she found a bunch of Reddit threads where people have been having this bug for months. And we were talking about it last night, and it was like, this is an example of you start with a product and then you have a bunch of other features and you keep adding like 20 layers on top. Because it doesn't make any sense why to make ads on Instagram you need a Facebook page, other than the fact, which is this is the only way they could do it without having to remake their system every time. So you just keep adding more and more dependencies on top of everything else. And like that's this thing with Slack of like, because they added threads in, it added like 20 more boxes on this flowchart.
Yeah.
Right? You can see the word thread message in question marks all over the place.
Yeah.
Because they added this feature in. This is like a perfect example of how you can make things more complicated for yourself because you try to do them in the most expedient way, which is to just add a feature on top rather than trying to fully integrate it. And like, this is not a criticism on any of these companies, because they all do this, right? Like, this is just, you can't, every time you have an idea, remake all of Facebook, right? Like, you can't, it's like, oh, we've had this great idea. Great. We need to start again with Facebook so we can like properly integrate this. It doesn't work like that. But this is how you end up building these like layers upon layers of complexities, in such that to send a notification, there is one of the most complicated flowcharts I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's great. And then you think this also then interacts with, if you're me, your notification system on the phone, right? All of this is like before the notification even gets into Apple's system, right? Which is, so it's like, oh, great. All of these complicated flowcharts are interacting with other complicated flowcharts. So anyway, I wanted to throw it in here as like, oh God, it's incredible how complicated software can be. And this is one of the few cases where I feel like I dramatically underestimated what the scope of the problem really is. It's like, oh, I thought I was managing 5 things, but I didn't realize, oh, there's 10 things here. This is why I can never quite get Slack to work the way that I want to. And I even learned new things from this flowchart of like, oh, there's the difference between @channel, @everyone, and @here, right? Which in my head, I just sort of mushed them all together. But it's amazing to see this, where it's like, oh, okay, this is a mention. It's an @here mention. Is the user active? Like, are they in Slack right now? No, then they won't get notified. It's like, oh, but if you're using @everyone, it's like, yes, they will get notified. Unless the channel mentions are suppressed, then they won't, right? It's incredible how complicated this is. To go to your point, you can easily see how someone at some point says, you don't always want to mention everyone in a channel. You literally want to know who is here right now. And you go, oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's a useful feature. But then fast forward to onboarding new users a year later. And since they haven't seen each of the pieces come in and like read the change logs as they get added, you just go, oh, @here, @everywhere. Yeah, all of this is like, how do I talk to everyone in the channel thing? It's a very hard design problem. Like, I do not envy, just to be clear, this is not me being like, oh, Slack is ridiculous. This is more like, I just don't envy the engineers who have to work on it. And for a tool that is attempting to manage, how does everyone in a company communicate with everyone else? It's a really, really hard problem to solve.
We get to do that thing that we rarely do, where there's some kind of like breaking news that we can bring into the show. Because before we started recording today, the WWDC rumors started, right?
Oh, okay.
I want to read you a paragraph from a Bloomberg report from Mark Gurman, because I think you might like this.
Okay.
I know you hate the rumors when I'm telling you it anyway.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you telling me rumors?
Because
rumors
this is particularly exciting for you.
Yeah, but they're nonsense. It's just it's not. It's just a rumor. It's not real.
The company is planning a new feature that will allow users to set different notification preferences, such as if the phone makes a sound or not, depending on their current status. The enhancement will come in the form of a new menu that lets users select if they are driving, working, sleeping, or custom categories of their choosing. The menu will be shown on the updated lock screen and in Control Center. So basically, you may be able to, with iOS 15, say, hey, I'm working now, and then your phone will send you a very limited set of notifications that you can customize. Imagine that life.
Yeah, okay, but so this is why I don't like rumors, because now you put me in a terrible position.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I like to do this to you, because now you're like, oh, now I want it, because now you think it might be out there. This is very fun for me.
Right. So yeah, if this doesn't happen, I will be disappointed. Mm-hmm. If it does happen, I will also take credit for the existence of this feature. I'll just assume.
I mean, this is without a shadow of a doubt. This only exists because people that make iOS listen to you complain.
It's like, look, Apple engineers. I know you're there. I know you can hear me now. So I am going to completely take credit if this feature exists. But then that only serves to redouble my disappointment if it doesn't happen. So thanks a lot, Myke.
This is like the many years of dark mode.
Right. Yeah. No. This is great. Breaking news in Cortex. I give it 2 thumbs down. Do not want, do not repeat, do not notify, please.
We have a new product that I'm very excited about.
The Subtle Notebook.
The Subtle Notebook.
Love it.
So we obviously have worked very hard on creating the theme system journal, and we've had a lot of great feedback about it because people just really like to use the theme system journal. So we decided to take all of the work that we have done in creating a fantastic paper product that is really nice to use and turn it into just a regular notebook. So if you love your theme system journal, now you can write all of your notes in a book made just like it. Or if for some reason you've been wondering, hey, what's all this fuss about? But you don't want to be a journal person, which I don't understand. If you don't, I think everybody should get a theme system journal. But nevertheless, now we have a product for you. So it's made exactly the same with the same materials. It has a different cover, which is a wonderful kind of slightly metallic blue with a more subtle logo, but otherwise is constructed identically to the theme system journal. It has dot grid, number pages, corner perforation so you can keep your place, and a lay flat design. It's on sale now at cortexmerch.com.
Yeah, I've got mine right here, right next to me. Obviously, Myke designed. It's beautiful. And yeah, if you are looking for a high quality notebook, it is obviously, we recommend it. It's great. Yep. I love it. And it's taken all of the work that you've done for the theme system and notebookified it. And I also just really love that when you pitched this to me the first time, it was, we want to take the subtle shirt and turn it into a notebook. And that's exactly what has happened. I 100% love that it matches this shirt so well, like with a nice subtle logo on the side. I love it. It's so good.
It is a notebook version of a t-shirt.
Yes.
That's all we've made.
Yeah. You're listening to Cortex right now. What more do you need to know? Yep. CortexMerch.com.
We need to talk about live streaming.
Do we?
Yeah,
Why?
we do.
Why do we need to talk about live streaming?
I think for a couple of reasons. One, I have been live streaming weekly for 6 months now. So I wanted to check in on how that's been going for me. But also because you're a live streaming machine who can't be stopped.
No, I don't know if that's true. Okay, if we're going to talk about live streaming, what this actually needs to be is I need to learn from your experience of live streaming.
Great, that's partly why we're having this conversation.
Okay, is this like a streaming intervention that's actually occurring? Hey, we need to talk about your streaming.
There's some stuff that we need to talk about, but there's other parts that I'm just intrigued about. So to kind of give everybody a refresher, I have been streaming weekly at Myke.live with keyboard-related content. This is my new hobby, and I've really been enjoying it. And every Friday, I've been doing a stream for an hour or two where I might be building something or looking at some upcoming products. This is kind of called like group buyer reviews. We look at stuff that's coming down the line, and I give my thoughts and opinions on the designs. And now that I'm back in the studio more, I'm thinking about maybe doing more streams. And I've actually been wanting to do some game stuff as well. And I could maybe do that on different days in the week. So I've really been enjoying it. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the changes that I've gone through, especially from an equipment perspective, and also talk about some of the stuff that I've learned from having done this for another 6 months. So that's where I am right now. But now I want to kind of get everybody up to speed on where you are too. So in the past, you've been doing some director's commentary live streams, right? That's something you've been doing for a while when you post a big video.
Yeah, I feel like it's been about a year, I guess, that I've been doing that. I think since the Tumbleweeds video, that was the first one.
Yeah. And so, my understanding is that's like a perk for Patreon too, right? They get like the video and stuff. Your direct supporters get the videos. And you've done some occasional game streams, mostly Mario Kart, if memory serves, right? But in the past week or so, you've been playing an absolute ton of Minecraft. And so I'm keen to understand
I don't know what you're talking about.
what triggered this.
I don't know.
Okay. That's a perfectly fine reason. Like saying I just wanted to do it. It's like great. Like, okay.
Well, no, it's one of these, it's like it's been a weird series of escalations combined with just a bunch of timing stuff. But okay, so if I'm trying to reconstruct it, so there's the background thing which is going on here. When I switched my business to be much more direct support and I gave up doing embedded sponsorships in the videos, one of the things that had been on my list for a really long time is I wanted to have a second place that people could sign up to support the channel, because sometimes for whatever reason, like people don't want to use Patreon. They want like a second option was a frequent request. And I've been kind of looking at stuff for a while, and eventually with the timing of it, it's like YouTube has just been rolling out their members program, and I got an invitation to be one of the early trial people for this. And I thought, okay, let me give this a shot. And so I've been trialing that out for, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so.
It seems like from the outside, basically, they took Patreon and Twitch and mushed them together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know very much about Twitch, so that's hard for me to comment on, but I think it is very fair to say that this is YouTube's answer to Patreon in a large number of ways. Anyway, so I wanted to just have an answer when people email me and they're like, hey, I want a different option. So I've been trying it out, and this actually just goes right into the like flowchart that we were talking about before, whereas like as you keep adding things, each individual thing makes everything much more complicated. There's like a non-linear amount of complication that occurs. And so I've been working a lot on trying to make sure that people who sign up to become members or patrons, that for the primary 2 levels that people use, everything is as the same as it can be. I don't think that the content experience should be different. And that ends up being a lot more work and a lot more difficult than you expect.
Well, you've got to double the work now.
Yeah, so there is double the work. Like, so that is the boring business background, all to get to the sentence of, so what I was trying to figure out how to do and completely failed in doing was, how can I stream the director's commentaries to both groups of people? And normally the way that I've done it is, since the director's commentaries are for the supporters of the channel, like it's been a private thing. Then I was thinking, okay, but how can I stream this to both groups? And it's like, oh God, this is a technical challenge, and also a Gray's internet is not fast enough and not reliable enough challenge as well. And I basically gave up with, what was it? I guess it was the metric paper video. I gave up even attempting to do that and just did the director's commentary live on the channel instead of having it behind a paywall, because I couldn't figure out how to do the thing. And I was like, well, I don't want to favor one group over the other. So everybody can watch when it's live, I guess, now. Yeah,
but then you can do, which I think you have been doing, which I think is a really fair way to do it, is then the replay is only available for members or patrons, right?
Yeah. That's what I've done for now. This is this is also one of these things where, simply because of the language issue as well, I've never really had a name for the group of people who support the channel. But now that there's difficult. 2 systems, it's like I need a way to refer to both of them. And so like I've come up with the Bonnie B Brigade as like an outgrowth of the Bonnie B that I've used on the channel for a long time. But again, it's one of these things of, I've always avoided any kind of collective name. That's fine until you have 2 systems, and now you need one name.
But first, you can just adopt what that system calls their customers, right? So like your patrons of Patreon.
Yeah, like I used to just say crowdfunders or patrons or whatever. Yeah. And I've used crowdfunders a little bit in the past year, but I just really hate it as a word. I think it's an ugly word.
That word doesn't mean anymore, I think, what it used to mean. Now, like crowdfunding is Kickstarter.
Yes, exactly. There's like a legacy term way that I'm using it, which is slipping. Like you don't want to get stuck on the old term for forever. So I don't know. It's been this weird time where I've been trying to solve a bunch of these weird background technical issues. Like the direct support is totally what the channel relies on, and just trying to make this work by what I thought was, I'll just flip a switch and give it a try and see how it works. I didn't realize, this is actually going to introduce a much larger number of problems than I thought at first. But so anyway, I gave up trying to solve one problem. I just did the director's commentary live. Then I was trying to solve the problem again and accidentally streamed live on the channel when I didn't mean to.
Right.
And basically just said, okay, F it, let's roll with this, and I'll just do some Mario Kart on the main stream. And then that just opened the flood doors of, I guess I can just stream on the main channel and it's okay, ... question mark. Like, I'm not 100% sure. It's very early in doing this, which is probably why it's a good time for your intervention if you're going to try to direct me here. This is like a very inflection-y point kind of thing. Yeah, so anyway, it's a combination of, so I sort of opened this door accidentally, and then, this is like a whole other side thing, but it's just worked out that some of my videos are in a really frustrating stage of development. Like I feel really stuck on 2 of them in these really annoying ways. And so I've ended up having a bunch of days work-wise that are just kind of frustrating after the morning. And I feel like I just haven't really accomplished much. And so that has totally pushed me to just try to play around with streaming a bit more and figure out what's here and what works. It originally started with, I can't remember how, but I think someone mentioned when I did that Mario Kart stream about Myst, which is a game that I really love.
Yes, you were playing Myst, yeah.
And just haven't played in literally over 20 years. It's very old. And I just thought, oh, that might be just kind of fun to try out on the channel. Like I've referenced Myst several times in my vlogs because it had a really big aesthetic impact on me. And so, yeah, I gave that a try, and I don't know, I was really happy to just experience the game again. Like it was an interesting experience. And also, you know, I could use help getting through it because I wasn't going to remember all the puzzles. Like, you know, it was much harder than I remembered it. I thought like, oh, I'll blast through this, no problem. It's like, no, it's still quite a hard puzzle game, even after 20 years. When I was doing that, someone mentioned Minecraft, which I didn't realize was still incredibly popular. Like I just kind of assumed that it had faded away a little bit.
I mean, I don't know if it's still now, but there was a time in the last year where it was again the most popular video game in the world.
Yeah, I mean it has amazing staying power. And yeah, so again, I had some really frustrating days with trying to work on some videos, and the Minecraft thing was just really nice. Like, oh, I feel like I've done something in the day after a frustrating morning, and it's also just genuinely quite fun to play. So it's been this weird combination of one, like we've talked about streaming for years and years now, and I think to anyone who's been with us, it has always been clear that I'm the one who has a much harder time with this, and I don't get it, and I feel like I've never really figured it out. And this is much more of me making a concerted effort to try to figure it out, because it's just happened to work out that I have a couple of good games that I wanted to try anyway, and a like bumpier period in the main script time. So yeah, so it's really just been a bunch of messing around is the long answer to why has this happened. It's just been like one thing on top of another. That's why it's happened.
This episode of Cortex is brought to you by our good friends at Memberful. Memberful is the easiest way to sell memberships to your audience, used by the biggest creators on the web, including this very show. You can generate sustainable recurring income while diversifying your revenue stream. You've heard us talk about more tax, you've heard us talk about the Relay FM membership program, and Memberful is the platform that we use to help us do all of this. They make it super easy to generate an extra revenue stream whilst also delivering bonus content to our members. Maybe you're already producing content and relying on advertising revenue, other means of income, or you don't have an income at all. Memberful makes it easy to diversify your income and generate that with everything you need to run a membership program of your own. They can give you custom branding, gift subscription options, Apple Pay, free trials, private podcasts, which is what we really take advantage of, and tons more, while leaving you with full control and ownership of everything that relates to your audience, your brand, and your membership. One of the things that I really love about Memberful is exactly that. We've been able to use their fantastic tools to build everything that we need. We have integrations with Discord and everything like that, but it all remains ours. We choose all of the integrations that we want. We choose the companies that we want to work with, and Memberful gives us the tools to build that exactly the way that we want. We don't have to take a cookie cutter approach. Nobody's telling us what we do. We still stay in control of everything whilst being able to offer what I think is a really compelling thing to our audience. If you are a content creator, Memberful can help you monetize that passion. Get started for free at memberful.com. There's no credit card required. That's MEMBERFUL, memberful.com. Go there right now and check it out. It could be the start of something exciting. Our thanks to Memberful for their support of this show and Relay FM. Poking in and peeking in as you've been doing this over the last few days. I mean, I can say from a business perspective, this is a good idea. Your numbers are incredible.
I didn't realize you've been spying on me.
I've been spying on you, yeah. I mean, YouTube actively tells me when it's happening. Right? Like, you can't get away from it, which is really interesting. No, it's good. This is good, right? I think that, okay, because here's when I first saw it, I was like, why would you stream on YouTube. Like Twitch is the place, right, for streaming.
Mhm.
It's just a better platform for it because it's built around it, right? Like that's what Twitch is. YouTube's like trying to make fetch happen, you know, like that they are really trying with live streaming, but people go to Twitch because it's kind of the expectation now. It's like that's where you live stream. But you have this inbuilt audience there already subscribed. YouTube wants to tell them, like every time you're streaming, you are the top video in my subscriptions list, no matter what's coming in. Like they put you right up there and you're like live. So like for you, I think it makes perfect sense to stream on YouTube rather than, because then, I mean, honestly, like if you did it on Twitch, you would then be having a third option, right?
Right.
Of like, now you have these subscribers and where do they go? There is something to be said about the diversification of that, which is intriguing, but I feel like would add so much on top that probably makes it more complicated. And also just from watching, like it seems like it is a really great way to encourage people to subscribe. Because when you're streaming live, if you are a person who watches live streams, you're very used to the idea of will encourage people to subscribe, and then at least with the YouTube stuff, they get additional benefits they don't really get on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Like Twitch is just kind of like, I support this creator, now I don't see ads and I get some emotes. But at least with the YouTube stuff, I assume from what I could glean, if somebody supports you by like subbing while you're live, they also get all of the benefits that you would get as a patron / regular subscriber. So there is definitely something to be said for someone like you using YouTube as your live streaming platform rather than trying to start something new on Twitch. And I've also found it like intriguing to watch some of these streams because it's so different content-wise to the stuff that you normally make, right? Because it's live, which is not a thing that you really do. And I was kind of intrigued as to how that makes you feel to be creating live.
Yeah, I mean, when you pitched me on Cortex years ago, I remember one of my main points was like, just so you understand, this will never be live, right?
Yeah.
Because you were doing other shows live.
Most of my other shows, especially my weekly shows, we stream them live. People can listen in our members Discord. They can listen on the web. It's just a thing that I've always done. So it's just a thing that I do. I don't particularly feel like that there is a reason. Like there's other shows that I do that I don't stream live. It adds and it also makes some things more tricky at the same time. For the shows that are like quite news focused and information heavy, it can be useful because the live stream actually provides information, right? But say for a show like ours, the one we're doing right now, I don't think streaming live would help. It would actually make the show harder to make.
Oh, yeah. I just, back in the day, like you would have wanted it to be live, and I think
because it's what I was used to.
I was very firm on not live.
Please no. Yeah.
Yes.
and it's for the best for this show. I mean, there has been one live appearance ever, right? When you came to San Francisco and we did a segment.
Right.
But so I just find it very interesting to watch you creating live.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much in what you've just already said, and this is where I really feel like I'm trying to figure it out. I am concerned about the notification issue. I don't think it's a problem, but I just don't know, and it's
not
just
a problem.
it's early days.
It's not a problem.
I mean,
well,
yes.
Okay, it would maybe become a problem if you streamed a lot and then people turn off notifications and they don't get notifications for the videos anymore. But that's not a thing that you can work out. And as well, it's like if you start relying on the notifications to tell people when you're streaming live, you are then at the whim of YouTube again as to when they may or may not send that notification that you expect.
Yeah. And also like how much sense this makes to do long term, like I just don't know. You know, I suspect that a lot of this might just be a kind of novelty effect at the moment. Like it's novel for me, which is what makes it interesting. But it can also just be novel for some people to watch it.
Yeah, there's always a novelty to stuff like this.
Yeah, I think one of the other big things about having direct support be the main thing that supports the channel, that, you know, now that I've been doing this for a while, is I've realized like I have to have a visible reminder that this is a thing that people can do now that like the business and the people that I work with depend on this as an income source. Because what happens over time with any of these kinds of things is like, okay, if I make a video that says, please support me on Patreon or whatever, over time, the number of people who are there decay, just as like credit cards expire or people like lose interest or whatever.
Yep.
There's always a certain amount of churn. And like, it's a thing that if the business depends on this, I have to promote it in some way. Mm-hmm. But I'm deeply uncomfortable with the direct ask. Like I've done it, 2 or 3 times in 10 years, which is not enough if the business actually needs to depend on this as the primary source of income. So one of the things that I've been doing with this is just to have a visible reminder to people that like, oh, you can support the channel. And if you do, there are perks. And it is one of the things that's quite interesting about YouTube members to me is it does make it very visually and immediately obvious to people, hey, there's more content here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always find it quite interesting with the creators that I support on Patreon that I almost never consume their additional content that exists there.
It's a pain.
Yeah. And if something is old, it's very hard to go back and to find it.
I have a couple of people that I support on Patreon, and one of the things that they'll do is you get the video early, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they send me an email, and then I have to open the email, and then I want to save the video to my watch later queue, which means I then have to sign in to YouTube again, even though I'm already signed in another tab.
Right.
And then open the video and then press the button. It's a pain. It doesn't just show up where I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So for more text, people subscribe and it's in their feed. It's like if every time we sent people an email every month which had an MP3 attached to it,
mm-hmm.
which had the additional content, and it's like, you can go listen to this now, right? Like it's like it's not meeting people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the interesting part of you leaning into what YouTube's offering as well as what Patreon's offering, because it really is leaning into where your customers are already, which is YouTube.
So I mean, part of the experience that I had, which also made me consider this, is I signed up for a couple people's memberships on YouTube myself, mm-hmm. and found, oh, I'm actually watching the additional stuff that they create. I mean, it may be literally true 1,000% more, mm-hmm. because I would basically never watch it on Patreon. And I've caught myself thinking, oh, there's some channels like I wish they would put their stuff on YouTube. So I don't know, it's interesting, and the program is still in beta, so I'm a little bit limited about what I can say about it. But mm-hmm. what I can say is it presents this real split where, when someone is supporting the channel, it works much better for me if they do that on Patreon. Like, all things being equal, I would much prefer someone to sign up on Patreon by a big margin. But I know as a user, it's way more convenient if it's right there on YouTube. So it's an interesting split. And I think, well, if I was a supporter of me, I would prefer to sign up on YouTube. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm just kind of giving it a try and seeing how things go. It's funny because, like, obviously I had the 10-year thing that we talked about last time or the time before.
Yeah.
And so obviously I've been thinking a lot about the next 10 years of the business.
Yeah.
And, again, I really want to lean on direct support quite a lot through, memberships and through merchandise, weird stuff like the stamp or whatever. But one of the things that sort of dawned on me is that I think I've been doing my career in a little bit of a reverse way from the way a lot of content creator production facilities go, where my early stuff was also much less personal. And over the last 10 years, I think there has been a trend towards more personal, and I've also trended away from advertising, and like both of those are very in the opposite direction of the way most things go. That as a channel gets bigger, often one of the things that people want to do is they want to try to more formalize, like, what's the system, how does this work, how do we make this more reproducible, and like that's how you make a bigger business. But I've realized I'm very happy to lean into the channel actually becoming just more personal over time, which is why, like, oh, the vlogs have gone up, and that's also why I feel comfortable experimenting with the live streaming stuff, because that then feels incredibly personal on the spectrum. It's like, oh, I'm here right now, you're listening to me talk, and I'm just kind of playing a video game, and so there's something incredibly unserious and hang-outy about it.
I'm pleased you said that, because I wanted to say this thing that you probably won't like it, but I'm going to say it anyway.
No.
So, like, in watching you play the game, I see more of who I know, because there is more, like, silliness.
Okay.
Because you're playing a video game, and so, like, it's funny and you're doing silly things. And I know that side of you more, and it's not the side of you that comes out in your videos, especially, like, most of the time, right? Like, most of the times you are presenting something and it's serious, right? And that is what people see from you. But in the live streaming stuff, because it's happening live, your natural reaction to things is coming out more. Right? Like, I was watching you build a train track, and I think at one moment you pressed a button and the train cart flew away, and, you know, you're just, like, giggling up a storm, right?
Trains are fun.
Yeah, right. And it's like, there's a spectrum, I think, that people would see you on, right? So people that watch the YouTube videos see one side of you. People who listen to the podcasts get a little bit more of that, right? Like a little bit more of you as the full person. But content where it's live, just naturally you will give more of you, like the whole you, because it's not written, it's not planned in advance, it's not being presented, you're just playing the game and being yourself. So all of this is to say, if the goal is to give more of your personal side, because that is the way that the business continues with a direct support model, things like live streaming, I think, are a very good thing to continue and to add in, because it does open you up a little bit more as a person and as a creator, because people get to see more of who you are. And I think that is why, you know, like, I'm watching, and lots of people are subscribing. And that's kind of the way that I see the popular Twitch creators that I watch. You know, the more you watch, the more you're like, oh, I'll subscribe because I enjoy it. I'm having fun here over a period of time. You know, so, like, I think if that is your goal, I think that this helps continue to further that.
Yeah, I would say it less as like it's the goal, but more like it's okay, right? Like it's okay to have the more personal stuff. I mean, this again is where I was really worried about having 2 vlogs in a row, and like, oh, it turned out fine. And I think this is a side effect of audience expectations. Again, people know what the deal is. You know, again, I'm slightly worried because the YouTube streams are subscriber net negative if I look in the back end, but they're not very net negative.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
So I mean, like, if I do a stream, I lose subscribers on that stream.
Oh, you mean overall subscribers? See, this is where this is where naming is difficult, because subscribers on Twitch means the people that pay you money.
I know.
Right?
It's like this is one of the, like, sidebar. I'm always harping on this. Like, I think YouTube should just ditch the whole concept of subscribers, but they can't because they built their dumb awards around it. But I've thought forever, like, they need to get rid of this.
Well, it's all changing now. Like, so we're recording this just as Apple's launched their Apple Podcast subscriptions thing, which obviously there is a parallel to that conversation, but it's too early for me to even have formed a full opinion on this program. But Apple in Apple Podcasts now has follow and subscribe. And follow.
Oh, that's way better.
Follow is what people do for our show right now, right? Like the vast majority of our listeners, they are now, like, if they use Apple Podcasts, following us. They've just, and what we would have always called subscribe to the show, right?
Right, yes.
But then you have the membership and the paid stuff, and that is now a subscription. I mean, I'm just old school, so I'm used to it, but I wouldn't mind if this naming actually just changed and just standardized. Because now I'm used to, with Twitch, subscriptions is where the money occurs. That's where there's an exchange of whatever.
Yeah.
I now want please standardize this language across the platforms.
Right, yeah. Yeah. No, I didn't know Apple changed the language, and I'm 100% behind that. I think subscribe it's an anachronistic word. It doesn't make sense. It's confusing. It's confusing even between right now in this moment, two professionals talking about what's going on. And I was like, oh, I'm net negative on subscribers. And you go, wow,
I'm like,
that
how
must be
are you losing money?
Right. And I'm like, oh, I don't think it's a big deal at all. Whereas it's like, oh, if my direct supporters were abandoning me en masse when I streamed, it's like I would stop streaming real fast. Like, so it's it
doesn't make any sense. They're all want refunds.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about. But I guess what I was trying to say there is I'm worried about the notifications thing. I know that the people who follow me on YouTube with the subscription button, that number goes negative when I stream, but not by a lot. And I also easily expect that's hugely disproportionate to people who like just signed up on the last main video. Like I would bet 80% of those unsubscribes are people who just subscribed when they found Metric Paper. And then they're like, oh, this is a nostalgia streaming channel? I didn't know that. Like, unsubscribe.
Or it is the far less engaged person who is now annoyed that this is happening, but they were not going to particularly watch every video or ever sign up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And this is also where one of the things related to the whole concept of YouTube subscriptions is I'm trying to just psychologically let go of, it's a bit like the Serenity Prayer. And, hey, what you have to say the Serenity Prayer about? When does YouTube notify people about your videos? And it's like, well, don't spend a lot of time and energy on the things you can't control and you don't know about. So it's like, I don't have any idea when YouTube notifies people about the main videos or the streams. It's incredibly difficult to even try to get any kind of idea of when that happens. So it's like, you know what, whatever, I'm going to just give up and let YouTube sort it out. And I don't know, maybe YouTube will figure out at some point which people do or don't want game streams and which people want the main videos. Like, but that's also where I'm not as confident as that, like, oh, I'm not going to worry thing, as that sounds like, well, we'll see how this pans out in the future. But yeah, I guess the original idea here about like just being more personal is also trying to eliminate the complexities. Is it makes more sense to just consolidate everything onto the main YouTube channel. So it's like I used to have the secondary channel for streaming games, but that doesn't make sense anymore once there's the members program. Like this is where, that just kind of has to go, because I don't want 3 places where people try to sign up and they don't work with each other and it's confusing.
And you have enough control where it doesn't mess up the video list and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah.
You don't get all these game videos intermixed. Like, you're able to kind of like split them out.
Yeah, I think it's clear that YouTube is interested in this as an important future part of their platform. And I don't know if they're going to continue doing this, but it is a big deal to me that, this kind of stuff doesn't show up as main video stuff. It's very clearly separated from the main videos. This allows me to have it be much more obvious, like, hey guys, this is bonus, not serious stuff. This isn't what the channel is. It's just like these extra things. So it does allow me to consolidate this stuff. But I think thinking about the channel long term, it's helped me also realize it makes sense and it's fine to consolidate all of these things. My audience, I think after 10 years, gets it, that there's going to be random things all the time on the channel. It's not advice that I would generally give. This is what I mean by, like, it's the reverse of how I see most YouTube channels go. That I think many people, as their channels grow, it makes way more sense to do spin-off and secondary channels. And I think for almost any creator, if they're asking me, oh, they want to do a very different kind of thing, it's like, you should have a separate channel. But that's also dependent on the whole business model of like embedded sponsorships are very important for most content creators. So it's just a very different position that I find myself in.
I do think that we're on a bit of an inflection point with this type of stuff, though.
What do you mean?
So I think that the pandemic has forced a lot of creators to consider their revenue streams differently. And so there is a lot more trending towards asking people to, if you like the content, support the content, and we'll try and give you something extra for that, right? And so I expect there to be a lot more of people doing the type of thing that you are attempting to do right now, of leaning into the main source providing some kind of incentive to build a larger support base and rely less on advertising.
I'm not confident about that as a general statement, but I don't know, maybe.
I think that 2020 has highlighted the fragility of advertising-based support models. So I can imagine a lot more people thinking, okay, there is a market for people to want to support, whether it's once or on an ongoing basis. And as long as creators continue to find a good balance, right? Like, it's not going to work for people, in my opinion, who are like, all right, I'm just going to say my content is now all behind a paywall. And that's not the way to do it. But
right.
If you can provide a value proposition, then they will give you their money. Like, I know this because it's working for us. I know this as me as a consumer of content. Like, I want to give money to people that I like. And to get something out of it. So, I mean, this is more of just like, I agree with what you're saying about you're doing things kind of in reverse to the typical creator, because typically a creator begins, they have a small audience, they ask their audience for help, it helps them grow, they get numbers, they get advertising, and they grow from there. And you have kind of gone in the reverse a little bit. I mean, there is a thing of like, when you started, there wasn't really a lot of options for direct support,
right,
though.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's that it is a slight inaccuracy in that thinking, right? Like, Patreon didn't exist. None of these things existed. But the point that I'm making is, I do think that larger creators now are considering direct support more than they would have, say, in 2019.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
But they're not doing what you're doing, which is them saying, hey, I'm not doing ads anymore.
Right.
On the YouTube channel. Where like most creators, like say me as well, like with the membership stuff that we're doing, we still do ads, but we also have direct support as well. But you've gone an extra step in saying, hey, I'm taking this leap now, please help. Right? Like, that's the difference. It's like it was a bigger step that you took, which does put you on the outs. But anyway, we have gone way into the reservation now. I want to bring us right back into live streaming. One of the things that I found it was funny to me is hearing you do the live streaming thing, which is the convention of live streaming. When someone subscribes or becomes a member, or whatever the word is, you say like, thanks, Jane. Like, that's what you need to do. And when I turned it on, like I turned on the stream, I was like, is he going to do that? Because I just wasn't sure, right? Because this is new for you. I remember when I first ever started streaming, I didn't know you needed to do those things. And people were like, why are you not interacting with us? And like, I was like, I didn't know I had to, right? Like, it's very strange when you start, but you were doing it, you're like, thanks, Billy Bob, for joining, or whatever the words are.
Yeah, all my words are still very complicated.
They're all new. It
right.
takes a while. Like, it really takes a while, because, again, like, Twitch is much more complicated, too. Because there are, like, follows, subs, bits, gifted subs. Like, it's a much broader...
Oh, great. Sign me up for Twitch. This sounds like what I need.
I mean, I will say, as a creator and as a consumer, I think Twitch is better at this stuff. But again, it's not the right option for you. The right option for you is to stream on YouTube, because it just makes so much sense. There is like this whole vernacular that you need to use. And it was funny because I could feel you were trying to you're trying to find it, right? Like, because it's very, again, it's super different to all of the other types of content that you make in that way.
Yeah, I'm totally unexperienced with this. And also, I have the additional problem, which is because there are two ways that people can sign up. I have two chat rooms that I'm managing, which is very like, oh God, where am I looking? Like it is surprisingly hard.
So Dina was like, oh, Gray's streaming. And then she was watching, like, I don't understand the chat. And I was like, okay, so he's kind of got these two, he's got the Discord and the YouTube chat. So, but why are they both there? I was like, yeah, because they just have to be. Right. Like, so so this is one of the things that I want to give you feedback on. Mm-hmm. What tool are you using? What software are you using?
Streamlabs OBS. Okay. That's what I'm using.
Because I think one of the ways that you can benefit from this is some visual design to the stream.
What do you mean? My streams are beautiful.
They're gorgeous, like really amazing. There are, there are visual tricks that you can play for putting things in boxes and stuff like that. And you will see this with other people that stream. You kind of have a layout. I don't remember the exact name of it now, but you can kind of set up a layout, and I just think your layout could do with some refinement to make things a bit clearer.
I have refined it quite a lot, actually. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness, this is just the problem of like the complication versus just getting it done issue. And I don't know, like Streamlabs, you recommended it to me, and I do quite like it, but I constantly run into just tons of technical problems with all of the streaming software. Technical problems that are completely baffling, the kind of thing where you're following through someone's tutorial and then step 6 just doesn't work, or like, oh, that button doesn't exist.
All right, okay. So now we need to actually get into the real meat of this.
Okay.
If you're going to do this, you need a PC. I'm sorry, you don't want to hear it, but this is it, because so many of the problems that you're having would be solved by using a PC. Because when you say the button isn't there, well, you know why the button isn't there? Because it's in the Windows version. It's not in the Mac version.
Yeah, but
and
that's
like
fine.
So many of the technical issues that you find yourself in because the Mac is not good at this.
Right. No, I understand the Mac's not good at this, but I'm not getting a whole other computer for this. Like, this is, you talk about now, like introducing more complexity. Mm-hmm. Every operating system is literally a universe unto itself.
No, I know.
Right? And you're like, oh, hey, you can't get subscriber names to pop up nice on the screen. Well, don't worry. Just pop over into this parallel universe where all the physics are different, and you can solve this problem. It's like, guess what? I don't need to solve the problem that badly. Like, it's fine.
What I'm saying to you is, for what you're doing right now, it's fine. But if this is a thing that you will want to continue, it is my strong recommendation that you make your life easier for yourself, ultimately, in having a small form factor PC.
Yeah, but you're presuming that it will make my life easier. I don't think that it will. Like, I really don't think that it will.
I have been on this journey. Mm-hmm. I know how much easier it can be. Like, my PC is just set now. I do 2 things on it. Nothing ever changes. It works great. Of course, I get the occasional issue, which is solved by unplugging and replugging a USB device. But that is like the majority of the issues that I have is just that, if that, right? It's like once you set it up and you get it fixed in the way that you want, as long as you don't do anything else to the PC, which I don't because I only use it for this, it's fine.
Yeah, but look, Myke, what are you trying to sell me here? All I have right now is, oh, cool, there's Minecraft on the right and there's Discord chat on the left. Great. Like, I'm good. Like, that's fine. It works fine.
All I'm saying is I agree with you for right now. But again, if this is something that like it becomes a thing in your portfolio that you do frequently, my recommendation is you make your life easier and the stream more professional looking by enhancing some things. So you get some scenes made for yourself, right? So like you end up with a more visual design to the stream where things are broken up and laid out a bit better. And then you also have a PC that can render Minecraft draw distances and also stream at the same time for you. Putting this out there to you is just like, this I don't know, to me, like, this is like antithetical to what I'm actually doing here. Like, number one, I'm not actually
going to be a daily streamer.
No, of course you're not.
Yeah, I've been doing it a bunch, because there's been a confluence of events that have made it happen more frequently. Like, I think I would like to be able to do this somewhat frequently going forward into the future. I don't really know what that means, but I wouldn't expect that it is as frequent as it has been.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Why do you have a writing computer?
No, Myke, now you're just trying to start a fight here.
Well, I'm not trying to start a fight. I'm just asking. I'm just a question that I have for you is why do you have a writing computer?
The purpose of the writing computer is to try to physically separate the work. I know where you're going with this.
I don't know where I'm not going anywhere. I just couldn't remember.
Look, the writing computer is very simple.
Yeah.
It's for writing.
Uh-huh.
It's for podcasting. It's also
streaming
a server. It's also a server for all of my video files. And it's a Hazel machine that automatically categorizes and sorts all of the video footage that I shoot. It's my fastest computer, so it's also my rendering computer when I'm short on time.
Yep.
And it's also my video game streaming computer now. So that's what the writing computer does.
Right. Okay.
I mean, but just to finish the point, like I know what you're saying about getting a PC and trying to make things more professional. I do get it. Like, even though I'm giving you a hard time about that, I understand your point. But part of this for me is like, but I am not a professional streamer.
No, I'm not recommending like you're doing this anytime soon.
Yeah. If it doesn't feel like I'm actually just playing this game and I'm enjoying this, I'm not going to do it. Like, it doesn't really make sense for me to do as a business. Like, it makes sense for me to do as a fun bonus thing for people who support the channel. And It also makes sense if it's a fun thing for me to do in the afternoon when I wouldn't be doing anything else anyway. Like, I'd just be sitting around. So this is why it all makes sense. And like, you have to be careful about how much you professionalize some things. And I feel cautious about this.
Nobody understands this more than me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like, this is exactly where I am, right? Like, I stream every week, but it's my fun thing that I do. I look forward to it. And I don't want to think of it as part of my like job so much because it would take some of the fun away. Like, it's my hobby, but as a hobby, I get to share it with other people, and it's just something that I really enjoy. But it has become way less frustrating for me once I had the equipment in place to properly manage what I was trying to do. Because what I found was when I was trying to stream everything from my laptop, it worked most of the time because the laptop couldn't handle it, and it was like random, where sometimes just like I would be at like 7 frames per second, right? And just like, as I said before, I think it's like people were joking and calling it like a PowerPoint presentation. That made it less fun.
Yeah.
And when it made it less fun, it made it feel like work. So when I ended up investing, I built a new PC. I love my new PC. I have a parts list that I'll put in the show notes if people want to check it out. Now it's even more fun again because everything just runs so smoothly. I just turn everything on and I'm ready to go. It's just a joy. So all I'm saying is I'm not recommending this for now because you don't know if this is even something you're going to be doing in 6 weeks' time, right?
Yeah.
My suggestion is if you decide this is something that you want to do for fun, but also as a like community building exercise, my recommendation to you is to really strongly consider some things that will make the experience smoother.
Recommendation noted, Myke.
Yeah. And again, like this, I just want to get this in your head, right? And like, but just keep doing what you're doing for now, right? It's only come up because you mentioned about the 2 chats, right? And like, that's what led me down this whole little rabbit hole.
But your PC isn't going to solve the problem that there's 2
No, there were 2
systems.
parts of this, right? Like, the first part was having somebody create a more visual scene. It's called scenes for you.
Okay.
Which could help highlight things. You could, there could be some labeling as to like why these things are both here. But then the other part of it was, while I'm talking about this, let me also mention to you how much your life would be made easier if you had a Windows PC to do this with.
Right. So that's what this intervention was.
Yeah. This was like the other thing that I wanted to mention.
Okay.
In watching your streams and knowing how much easier and smoother and better looking they would be if you had hardware that could actually handle it.
Yeah, I do think my bottleneck is actually the internet connection. It's not the hardware at this point.
I think there's a bit of both. I mean, because like stuff like your draw distance in Minecraft is not affected by your internet.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
That is true. I don't have the draw distance at maximum. But I do really think 80% of the problem is the internet connection. And also, I don't know anything about PCs and don't want to learn an entire other universe.
Yeah. No, trust me, I feel you. I've been there.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as it seems, though.
Yeah.
But it's the thing is you choose whether you want to give into it or not.
I mean, I'll just tell you my favorite little thing that's happened so far with the streaming. It just made me laugh. Is I try very hard on the streams not to curse, because if it's live, there's no bleeping, right? So sometimes I curse on this podcast and you bleep it, and that always makes it funnier.
I censor you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. The reason I take curses out of this show is it's easier for people that don't want it, and it's also easier for people that are listening mixed company.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know. It's mixed company. There's going to be a grandma with pearls that she will clutch if you curse, and you don't want that to be the case. Also, I suspect with streams, it's much more of a background activity. So it's just, I don't know. It's just everything about it feels like you probably shouldn't curse. So I try not to curse. Although, of course, when you're playing video games, surprising things happen. Especially
Minecraft. Minecraft is a dangerous game for no cursing.
It is dangerous, because it is the perfect example of, you've spent 2 hours doing a thing, and then in 2 seconds, one stupid thing happens, and you've just lost 2 hours of your life that you're never getting back. In all of my years, anytime I've ever streamed, I think I have been 100% successful about not cursing. But on the very last stream, I did once because I was just too surprised. I turned around and was just very surprised and cursed out loud. And what I loved is before I had even finished the stream, YouTube was like, "Oh, we've demonetized this video for language."
Whoa.
I'm like, wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I saw the little ineligible limited monetization language. And I was like, boy, look at this. These bots, they sure know how to look like they are watching you with sharp eyes. I thought that was
incredible. And horrifying.
Yeah. So anyway, YouTube, they're always watching.
This episode of Cortex is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build your online presence and run your business. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace have got you covered. They combine cutting-edge design and world-class engineering, making it easier than ever to establish a home online and make your ideas a reality. Squarespace has everything you need to create a beautiful modern website. You start with a professionally designed template and use drag and drop tools to make it your own. You customize the look and feel, the settings, the products you have on sale, and more in just a few clicks. And all Squarespace websites are optimized for mobile. Your content automatically adjusts so it's going to look great on any device. You'll also get free unlimited hosting, top-of-the-line security, and dependable resources to help you succeed. There's nothing to patch or upgrade. They have award-winning 24/7 customer support if you need any help. They'll even let you quickly and easily grab a unique domain name, and they have everything you're going to need for SEO and email marketing as well, if that's what you want to do. You can use Squarespace to turn your big idea into a new website, showcase your work with their incredible portfolio designs, publish your next blog post, promote your business, announce an upcoming event, and so much more. Something I wanted to do recently was to create a kind of landing page for all the different projects that I have. And I've had a website, MykeHurley.net, on Squarespace for a while, and I haven't really done much with it. So I just spent some time one day. I put in a little bio about myself, some imagery, and then some links out to all of the different projects that I'm up to today. It was so easy. They had a template that was perfect for it. It was really easy to do, to drop in a gallery of images. So simple. I really love how Squarespace gives me all of the tools that I need to do this in a way that makes sense to me. Go to squarespace.com/Cortex and you can sign up for a free trial with no credit card required. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code Cortex to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/Cortex. And then when you sign up, use the offer code Cortex to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for the show. A thanks to Squarespace for their continued support of Cortex and all of Relay FM. Great, let's do some hashtag Ask Cortex questions. So Cortexans have questions, we have answers. Maybe.
I was like, do we have answers? I don't know the answer to that yet.
We have answers.
Right.
They might not always be the answers people want or expect, but we do have them. Jan asks, what kind of art do you have or want in your offices? Where do you choose form over function? Maybe in regards to furniture.
I mean, won't be surprised. I generally prefer function over form, particularly in a work environment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do think it is nice to have some kind of matching, so like I have the 2 desks in my office, one for the regular computer, one for the writing computer. They're the same. And when I got a storage unit, it was important to try to like match the wood so that it does look nice in the room. But yeah, in general, I care a lot more about office stuff being functional. And to that end, I don't have any art in my office. Like I painted the walls blue, which I love, but I don't have any like paintings on the walls. None of that is something that I would really want. There's a window in my office, but it is permanently closed forever. But I guess the thing that I would want as art, I guess, is always kind of stuck with me. But there are companies that make these fake windows. I don't know if you've ever seen this. Like I run across this on the internet every once in a while. And it's one of these like, how much money do you want to spend kind of questions. But yeah, there are companies that will make these fake windows that try to create the appearance of sunlight coming through them.
Oh my God, this is so weird. I'm looking at some now where they put like images.
Yeah, and so some of the better ones try to solve the parallax problem because like with artwork, obviously it doesn't have any depth to it because it's just a flat image. And so some of the better windows try to solve for the parallax problem by having just a little bit of layers that's offset in a way which exaggerates parallax, so it gives it a bit of depth as you're walking past it.
I'm looking at these ones now that are curved.
Yes, like that kind of stuff.
I hate this.
No, some of these are great. Like, for people who have underground prepper bunkers, like, the real millionaire, billionaire people who do this kind of stuff is like, oh, I have this underground nuclear bunker, but also this window that always shows me what it looks like in Hong Kong now or whatever. Like, that's the kind of thing, if money was no object and I could build my office from scratch, I think I wouldn't have art, but I would love to have like the best fake windows money can buy. That's what I would put in my office.
For me, I like to try and display things that are achievements. I have my prints from PodCon. Remember those?
Yeah, of course.
Those framed. I have some like those fracture prints of like little moments. I actually have a fracture of the aforementioned time that we were on stage together in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I want to do more of it for the studio because the studio is just big blank walls. It's just like these large white walls. But again, it's like I haven't had the time to really decorate this place. Like I have a clock that I really like that has just been sitting in a box for 10 months. I like the idea of having things in a workspace to make it feel personalized, to kind of take the edge off a little bit. I mean, honestly, this is part of like the aesthetic desire for fun keyboards. Yeah,
I imagine, especially just being in a bigger space, you would have more desire to decorate something on the walls.
Especially because, I mean, it's not very soft feeling in this. Right? And it's just like white brick wall.
The coziest of decorations, white brick wall.
John asks, I know Myke edits and posts the podcast, but what is the, quote, final cut ownership like on an episode? Does Gray just listen for mistakes and note corrections to Myke, or do both of you listen and edit it equally?
I like that. Oh, Myke, I'll just send you my list of mistakes and I'll let you do it. I think that's really funny.
I have had editing relationships like that.
I mean, I think it can make sense. That strikes me as funny.
I mean, honestly, in some ways, it's more logical than what we do, which is literally pass a logic project backwards and forwards, which is, I can't believe we haven't had a problem that's occurred from that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give Logic a lot of credit for never really choking on that. Nope. So yeah, that's worked really well. But I think this is also the case of we are both Logic editors. Like it's no big deal for me to open up a Logic file and edit a podcast. Like it's super easy. It's
True.
way easier than working in Final Cut and is super fast. So I think I think there's two things going on here. It's like, okay, well, when both of us know how to use the same editing program, that reduces a lot of friction. And when one of us is incredibly picky about a bunch of details, like it also makes like I would never send you a list of like, oh, Myke, here's the couple little things that I want you to change. I tend to make a lot of very small edits on the final one, but honestly, I think it's the two of us working on this that is part of why I think Cortex sounds really good as a podcast. Is I always want to be clear, like Myke is putting in 90% of the work. I just view my edit as I always have picky stuff that I just want to change or tweak a little bit.
I have a question for you. Do you edit yourself more or me more?
It depends. I mean, I think probably on average I edit myself way more. I think this is just the human thing of you're always going to be more annoyed by little things that you do wrong, or you're more aware of when you've said things in a weird way. Like, that was not what I intended, but if I cut this, it sounds closer to what I meant to say.
I edit you more than me.
Oh, okay. That's totally shocking to me. Why? I'm going to edit you more now.
Go for it. See if I care. You can edit me out. I'll show you.
This is really funny because, like, I've always kind of assumed, oh, Myke is giving me this file. He must be 100% happy with the way he sounds about everything, because I'm not going to pass back the file to him until I've listened to it and make sure that I'm happy with the way I sound.
I edit myself a lot, right? Like, I'm not relying on you to do it for me. The reason I edit you more is because I know how picky you are for yourself. So I try and just pick up a lot of that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, it's part of my job here is to edit the show. And so, like, as well, you have, I think, more fixable verbal tics than I do. Right? Everybody has verbal tics.
Yeah.
I am just lucky that yours are more repairable more frequently than mine are. I can't get rid of a lot of mine.
What are your unremovable verbal tics?
Oh, I'm not saying them on the show.
Okay, well, you can tell me later.
Right, because then everyone will hear them all the time
and
will lose their minds. But you're quite controlled with yours, which makes it easy. One of them is the exact opposite of a verbal tic, which is you take a long time. You pause.
Yes,
for a minute, right? You do lots of pauses. And your other thing is you just restate stuff a lot.
Yes, well, this is also the magic of it's not live. It's
amazing. Yeah.
I start this sentence and then, it's a car crash. And then you just wait.
Start over.
Start over. Try that again and try to speak like a person who could speak in full sentences. Yeah, no, extemporaneous speech is not my strong point, which is one of the reasons why it's like, Myke, this podcast will never be live.
Well, Gray, I'll tell you, it's nobody's strong point. It really isn't. Like, extemporaneous speaking is incredibly difficult. Most podcasts are not edited like ours. They're just not, because it just takes too much work. You wouldn't do it, right? And it's like when I talk to people, like especially with the mentorship program that I've been doing, when we talk about editing, I tell them the different ways that I edit. I tell them how I edit this show and suggest nobody edit like this.
Right.
It's not necessary to produce a good podcast. We just do it because this is what we do.
Yeah.
But I don't recommend people do things like we do. Like if I say the word "your" twice in a sentence, right? So that you're, because I'm just restating it, I'll cut one of those out. Nobody notices that stuff, but I just don't want it there. So really, the Final Cut ownership, I mean, it is kind of mine because you give me the final cut, but I don't really change a lot after you give it back to me.
Because I was just thinking, I don't even know now. I don't know. Like, you do listen to it again after I've edited it or not?
I never listen to it again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, there you go. You didn't. I can't. I don't have the time for that.
Myke, we need to do 3 passes on this podcast.
Well, I'll tell you what then, Gary. I'll tell you, if you want that, you got to get it to me a day earlier, right? Like, that's the thing. I can't listen to the show if you're giving me the show on the day the show's being posted.
Myke, I don't understand. The show needs to be posted on Tuesday at 4 p.m., and I got it to you at 3 p.m. Didn't you listen at double speed? I don't understand.
What's wrong with you? No, I don't listen back again. Something that I do is I would sometimes check the edits that you make.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I want to just tidy it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's easy because we edit differently. You crossfade everything, so I can see where your edits are.
Yes, and this is where I crossfade everything because I am not as good of an editor as you are. And so it's like crossfades makes it much easier. I open up Myke's one, it's like no crossfades here.
Nope.
Myke doesn't rely on that low-level noob trash. Like, he doesn't need to do it. Myke just has hard cuts.
I'm an artisanal editor, sir. I find the natural point between the two words and match that up. No crossfade in here.
In all seriousness, Myke's podcast edits look like, I don't know, what professional sushi cuts look like. Just these perfectly straight lines, and it's like wham, wham, wham. And my edits look like trash.
I've done this a few times. I'll include a link in the show notes to what the Logic project just looks like at the end. Because it really is kind of incredible to see what is often thousands of cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite a sight to see sometimes.
Yeah, I think, again, I'll just reemphasize here that, yes, no one should edit a show this way, but this is the byproduct of, I'm very picky, but I genuinely think that for this show, it does make it much better.
Yes.
And I also think that this show has above average, at least, re-listenability. And so that is something that I often have in mind when I'm doing my pass is someone may listen to this not just once, but they may listen to it several times. And then it kind of changes the calculus in my head of if an edit is worth it or if it's worth tightening up this little section. So this is why most podcasts are more ephemeral, and then that's why it doesn't necessarily make sense to do like 2.5 passes of it. So
yeah, because it's also content. That's the thing we didn't mention. We do take things out, remove things, move stuff around to make the content of it sound better, as well as just the raw speech of it, right?
Yeah.
And that is, again, just a very different thing. The content editing I do recommend for people depending on the type of show that they're making.
Yes.
This isn't something that I do all the time. I think you can remove the need for content editing by planning a lot and then also just by paying attention while you're recording. You know, because there's shows that I do where I don't edit as heavily, but we'll remove stuff from the final edit because I just know it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But this show, we do listen through it in that way to make sure that it is re-listenable and replayable. And again, it's like there are considerations that we make, which is this weird chicken and egg scenario that because the show is successful and has a large listenership, you edit it more tightly.
Mm-hmm.
But is the show successful because it's edited that?
Right.
You know, we'll
Yes.
never know. But that's this chicken and egg that we're in, that we're happy with.
Yeah.
But it's also why the show happens every month and not every week.
It's impossible to know if the show is more successful because of the way that we edit it, but I know for sure that the answer is yes.
Okay.
Even though I also know that this is not generally applicable to all podcasts.
That is perfectly acceptable, I think, to say all of what you've just said, and I'm pretty sure I agree with all of it.
Great. I'm glad it only took me 3 tries to get it right in that sentence.
But nobody will ever know.